everybody, and welcome to the Alex Cuesta Daily Show. How is everybody doing on this fine Tuesday, April 25th of 2022? Before we jump into the fun stuff, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars on Spotify and iTunes, spread this word of mouth, and find us on socials at The Alex Cuesta Show. Just go search it. Now, I know if you were lured in by the title and you're a sports person, you're probably not going to want to hear anything political, but this is my show. And I do politics, sports, etc., a little bit of everything. So I open up every show with a little bit of politics. So if you just want to skip past this little 5 minutes, you can. If not, if you're interested, you can hang around. I do the Biden COVID tracker. I've been doing it for, I don't know, a long time now. And it's because no one holds this man to task with the number of cases, the number of deaths like they used to for the former president. So I am the one holding him to task because every single case that he's picked up since January 20th, 2021 is on him. Every single death that he has picked up since that date is on him. So I like to give an update. So as of yesterday, on the 25th, we were sitting at 80,869,032 cases and 990,208 deaths. Now, if anyone recalls, there was something really weird going on with the deaths where for 4 days straight, it stayed stagnant. But we do have some movement today, and we have movement in pretty big ways on both fronts. So today, the 26th, we have 80,967,566 cases. That is an uptick of 98,532. That's the biggest uptick we've seen in a little while. So there is something going on. There's some movement. There's some shaking going on with COVID. But in deaths, we do have movement. We're at 991,169. That's an uptick of 961. That's one of the lower numbers I've seen in a long time. It's under 1,000. So we'll see. Deaths always follow about 2 weeks behind cases. So we'll see if this makes a big jump or not. But reminder, even with that spike in cases, this is an endemic. We are still under pandemic powers that the government holds, but this is an endemic. There are other sicknesses coming back. People are starting to get bad colds again. They're starting to get bad sinus infections. They're worried about the flu. That usually doesn't happen if we are in pandemic mode. That usually takes over. So, I just like to keep them held accountable. That was the COVID tracker. Now we're going to get to the fun stuff. Now we're going to get to the stuff that the people came here to listen to. The 2022 NFL mock draft from the Alex Cuesta Show, the one and only. I'm not doing any other ones. This is it. The draft is 2 days away on the 28th. And if you're listening to this on a Wednesday, it would be the next day. So it's on February 28th. Lots of excitement. Now, unlike many others, I'm not a guru when it comes to knowing college athletes and things like that. I like college football. I'm not a college sports enthusiast, but I do like it. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to do something that I guess is a little bit on the empirical side, where I take a bunch of data, combine it, get an average, and then I make my mock draft from there. So here's my methodology. I took 20 different mock drafts, and they're all from people that are fairly reputable. In terms of fairly reputable, they write for somewhere or they are a known draft expert. So I'll go over whose mock drafts that I took. I used Mel Kiper's of ESPN, Todd McShay's of ESPN. Kiper and McShay put out a combined one. I used that. Vinny Iyer of the Sporting News, Daniel Jeremiah of NFL Network, Charles Davis of NFL Network, Dan Brugler of The Athletic, Peter King of NBC Sports, Bucky Brooks of NFL.com, Albert Breer, SI.com, Mark Maskey of Washington Post, Eric Edholm of Yahoo Sports, Danny Kelly of The Ringer, Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, Jason McIntyre from Fox Sports, the Bleacher Report Scouting Department, LA Times NFL Reporters, CJ Dune from the Baltimore Sun, James Dater from SB Nation, and Ryan Wilson from CBS Sports. Those were all of the mock drafts that I used. And all of them are, some are household names, some aren't, but they're all pretty reputable. They all put out mock drafts within the month of April was kind of my cutoff because, it kind of comes down to final time. There haven't been too many changes. For example, Kiper put one out on the 13th and he hasn't put one out since. So that's what I use. Out of those groups, I had 53 different players named in this draft from the first round. This is only the first round. I'm not covering any other round, just round one. But 53 different players named in all of these 20 mock drafts. In order to qualify, I cut off the criteria that they had to be included in at least 9 mock drafts. Now, why 9? I initially wanted it to be 10 because I wanted it to be half. But if I wanted it to be 10, then I would only have 31 players eligible. So I opened it up to 9, and that made 33 players eligible. So what I did when I was doing this was I looked at every single draft and I kind of made a mark for in each draft where that player was put. So the perfect example, Charles Cross. He was mentioned 3 times at number 6 in the drafts, 6 times at number 7, down the line. That's not the exact science, but I'm just giving an example. And I did that. And then I added all those numbers together and averaged against how many drafts they were included in to get the average number. And then based on that average number, I kind of put them in order. So if you're looking at it from a position of picking a need for a team, I didn't do that. I quite literally took empirical data. I have a little scatter chart in front of me with a bunch of numbers or how many times people were mentioned at certain positions. And I did the averages. And from there, I put all the averages up, and the lowest one was 1. Highest one ended up being 32 of the qualified guys. Well, second highest was 32 because 33 is the highest because we had 33 qualified to be in here. And I went from there. So this is not your typical mock draft of this guy fills this need and this is why I picked him. This is, out of all the drafts picked, this was the average number and where they sat. So this is more of a scientific way of doing a mock draft. And I think it's interesting. And I would love to continue to do this. And it's pretty cool. And I want to compare how this works out for draft night. Now, I didn't include any potential draft night trades, which there could be, and that would change up the board. But I went straight up from what we have. So any pre-trades where, my Jets are sitting at 10 because they got a pick from the Seahawks, that's included there, obviously, because the Jets are slotted in there. But nothing done the night of has been included. Now, we still have 2 more days. We have, I record late at night on the 26th. We have the 27th and we have draft day. So a lot could happen trade wise still because they are wheeling and dealing right now. But this is just how I did it. So I hope I didn't confuse people with my explanation. If I did, I'll explain it further. I'll probably be posting up my mock draft and kind of the averages so that people could see how it happened, what the number was and where they came in. But without further ado, let me jump in and let's talk about the mock draft and we'll see, because it's interesting enough that when I put in the numbers, there was enough of an average here that I think people were kind of put in the right spot anyway, but we'll see. We shall see. All right. So let's start off right from the get-go. Number 1, Aiden Hutchinson. It was a no-brainer. Defensive end from Michigan. He would be going to the Jags. That one was one favored by a lot of people. Aiden Hutchinson, out of the 20 mock drafts, didn't fall lower than second. He had 11 first pick, 9 second picks. So he was a lock to be number 1 in this in terms of empirical data. Number 2, Lions. They went with Trayvon Walker, defensive end from Georgia. He was a little more scattered. He was as high as first with 7 drafts, picking him first, as low as 8th. 2 drafts had him going 8th to the Falcons. So he was a little more scattered. The only guy that was super tight was Aiden Hutchinson. Everyone else had a little bit of variation. Number 3, Texans. Iken Ekwonu, offensive tackle from North Carolina State. They give Danny Mills some protection there. People are predicting that Ekwonu can be a all-world level Quentin Nelson-esque type of tackle. If you're getting that, that's a good building block for the Texans. So that wouldn't be a bad choice. Number 4, my New York Jets. It was here predicted, and a lot of Jets fans will be pissed about this if it happens. But Evan Neal, offensive tackle from Alabama, he gives Zach Wilson another guy to block in front of him. You only do this if you're either getting rid of Font or you don't believe in Mekhi Becton. So this would be troublesome for the Jets if they had to spend an offensive tackle pick here. But that's what the data shows. He's in there locked in at number 4. And I have to say, in terms of the averages, the only 3 that kind of moved themselves away that were super low in terms of average was Ekwonu, Walker, and Hutchinson. Hutchinson averaged 1.45, average at pick 1.45, Walker 2.85, and Ekwonu 3.9. And that jumps. When the Jets get to Neal at 4, it jumps to 5.4. So it gets a lot tighter here, and then there's jumps. It's interesting to look at this data. But at number 4, Evan Neal, offensive tackle, Alabama. At number 5, the Giants get the guy that I think a lot of Jets fans would see, and the Giants will be elated. Kayvon Thibodeau, defensive end from Oregon. His work ethic has been questioned, and I don't think the Giants kind of care about that. They have a rich history of great pass rushers. Michael Strahan, O.C. Umenyiora, Justin Tuck, JPP. You can go down the line. And maybe the pride of joining that group would push Thibodeau, and you would hope it would. So, but he was another one scattered. He was as high as first, as low as 13th. So you could see some people really lulled on him. His most frequent pick was at number 4 for the Jets. I will say that. So number 6, the Panthers, Ahmed Sauce Gardner, cornerback from Cincy. He's a guy that people are predicting is kind of a surefire thing. That there is no surefire, especially with corner. But people were thinking Sauce Gardner from Cincy is the real deal, and he's going to be amazing. So he was the pick over here. The Panthers will be elated. They had Josh Norman at one point, who was dominant. This is another guy that can really help that defense be really good. Point of reference, his most favored pick was for my Jets. 8 times he was picked for my Jets over there, but it ended up that the averages threw him back here. Number 7, Giants via trade with the Bears. They have them picking Charles Cross and addressing the offensive line there, offensive tackle of Mississippi State. Giants fans probably want to see this over at 5. But if you're a Giants fan and you're looking at Kayvon Thibodeau and then Charles Cross with 4 and 7, that's a pretty good draft right there. That's a pretty good first round, pretty good picks right there. That would be ideal if you're a Giants fan. You got one of the best pass rushers in the whole draft. You have one of the best tackles in the whole draft. I know people will say they have other needs, but that would be pretty damn good. And this, his most favorite position was going to the Panthers with 6 choices there, but this will be good for the Giants. Number 8, Falcons. They're picking over here Kyle Hamilton, safety from Notre Dame, arguably the most complete player and the most pro-ready player. He can kind of do a little bit of everything. He's good on the pass rush, good coverage. He was a monster over at Notre Dame. And this and his most frequent pick spot was at number 11. So this kind of averaged out because he was as high as 2 and 3 on some drafts. But Falcons would be getting an absolute weapon. And who knows, they have a lot of pieces. Falcons fans might be pissed at this, but overall, I think you kind of can't go wrong with Kyle Hamilton. Number 9, Seahawks via the Broncos. Obviously, the trade with for Russell Wilson. The Seahawks are there. They pick up Garrett Wilson, wide receiver, Ohio State. And that, to me, if you're a Seahawks fan, that kind of spells that DK Metcalf is really on his way out. It would be nice to keep both Wilson and Metcalf, but I don't think that's happening. If you pick Garrett Wilson here, then there's a good chance DK Metcalf is on his way out. The trade is already there. The trade may have already happened. So that is the pick over there. His most frequent spot was going to number 8 to the Falcons. Number 10, Jets via the Seahawks trade, where we traded number 33, the man formerly known as number 33 for the Jets. I won't say his name. Derek Stingley Jr. comes to the Jets, cornerback from LSU. A lot of fans really wanted Sauce Gardner. I don't know how they'd feel about Derek Stingley. He's still an extremely talented player. He's very good, and he's looks to project as a starting corner right away, if not a Pro Bowl type corner. So fans will probably not be too happy with this. Not gonna lie. If they go with Evan Neal and then Derek Stingley Jr., I don't think Jets fans will be too happy because we didn't address wide receiver. And I've seen a lot of places anything but about offensive tackle at 4. So I don't know if Jets fans would be too happy. He had 8 picks at this number 10, but his most frequent spot was number 12 over to the Vikings. So we'll see who they end up picking. The Commanders, the team formerly known as the Skins, Washington, they picked Malik Willis here, quarterback from Liberty. Now, he's the first quarterback off the board outside the top 10 here. And it's interesting because they have Carson Wentz. They traded for him. And if they go with Malik Willis, they've said a lot of things. Like they see Carson Wentz as a guy that's not just a bridge guy, not just a veteran, bridge. He's the real deal. You pick Malik Willis, you just denied everything that was said. So it's very interesting. Interestingly enough, Malik Willis's most frequent pick was over at number 20 with the Saints. But as it stands, the averages put him at Commanders over in 11th. Number 12, Minnesota Vikings. They go with Drake London, wide receiver from USC. And wow, if they go with Drake London, what an explosive wide receiver room they would have. He's just a versatile guy at a USC. You hook him up with Justin Jefferson out there, and my, oh my, would they be freakish to watch those two play together. And so the most frequently spot picked was number 6 going to my Jets at 10. Again, we average everything out here because he was also as high as 23 and 22. So I pushed him back to the number 12 pick for the Vikings. Vikings will probably be elated at this. It's an awesome pick for them to give Kirk Cousins another weapon. Number 13, Texans via trade with the Browns. They end up picking Jermaine Johnson II, defensive end from Florida State. Now, I'm a Florida State fan. Jermaine Johnson II is an amazing pick for the Texans, and they would be doing pretty damn well here if they get Jermaine Johnson at defensive end at 13 while already picking Ikem Ekwonu over at offensive tackle. So you're helping David Mills on the offense, and then you're also helping the defense with some pass rush there. His most frequent spot was right over here at number 13, so the averages worked out. He had 6 mock drafts saying he would go there. Next, number 14 with the Baltimore Ravens, as them selecting Jamison Williams, wide receiver from Alabama. I think a lot of fans will be happy about this. I've heard a lot of fans wanting to clamor about the Ravens going after and getting one of these free agents that are potentially out there. If the plan was to always address it through the draft, get a guy like Jamison Williams, who's a pretty damn good receiver out of Alabama, that would be something that I think Ravens fans would be happy with. I'm pretty sure they probably want them to trade up to go after maybe London or Garrett Wilson, or people might be questioning why Chris Olave isn't the pick here. But averages tell us Jamison Williams is the guy at wide receiver over at 14. His most frequently picked spot was number 10 to my Jets. So he was high. So this is a little low. His most frequently picked spot was 10. Averages dropped him back to 14 because he was picked as high as 21 twice in 2 different drafts. 15, Eagles via the Miami Dolphins. Jordan Davis, defensive tackle from Georgia. First defensive tackle off the board. Georgia, obviously being the national champions, they're going to have a lot of people on this board. And he was a part of it. You look at Trayvon Walker up top to the Lions defensive end. Jordan Davis was a big factor at defensive tackle in Georgia. Eagles plug up there. They've been losing some of their veterans over there. And Fletcher Cox came back. He's a big pass rush guy. Jordan Davis should help down there in terms of getting a nice push and run stopping. His most frequent position was picked at 15 of the Eagles. So averages worked out here and he's there. So next is Saints via the Colts, who got that from the Eagles, a nice little 2-way trade. They pick up Chris Olave, wide receiver, Ohio State. So look at what they're doing here. According to averages here, they're doing something different. They're doing pretty good here. They end up grabbing a wide receiver and they help out whoever's going to be quarterback there, whether they bring back Jameis, whether they, who knows what's going to go on with the Saints. But maybe I'm talking at my ass. I don't know if the Saints picked anybody up. I don't think they did. But Chris Olave was a very skilled guy at Ohio State. A lot of people definitely favor Garrett Wilson, but people forget Chris Olave was extremely talented and did a lot of really good things for that university. His most frequently picked spot was over at number 11 with the Commanders, but averages pushed him back. He was also picked as high as 29 in some drafts, 24, 22. So it averaged him out back here to the Saints. Next up, 17 is the Chargers. Trevor Penning, offensive tackle from Northern Iowa. He was an interesting guy because they have him as high as 9 going into the top 10, as low as 28. He kind of mulled around the middle at 16. He had 7 picks at 17, where he's sitting now. He had 4 picks. So I think he's a middling guy. They had it pretty right here with the averages. And the Chargers get somebody here that's going to be able to jump on the offensive line, start, and protect Herbert right away. You can never have too many talented guys protecting your franchise. 18, the Eagles via the New Orleans Saints. Here, Trent McDuffie goes off the board, cornerback, Washington. He was a guy that kind of hung around the middling the whole time. Highest he got to was 12. Lowest he got to was 25. So this is a perfect spot for him to land right in the middling. The Eagles now have addressed defense twice in this draft, according to the averages board. They went defensive tackle. Now they're going secondary. So they're obviously looking to go defense here. Jalen Hurts is a question mark. You screwed up with Jalen Reagor, but they do have some good offense there, and they're shoring up their defense because when they won a championship, it was because their defense was pretty damn dominant. So here they are. The Saints go ahead and pair Chris Olave with their probably quarterback of the future if they go this way. They go after Kenny Pickett, quarterback, Pittsburgh, probably the most interesting guy in the whole draft because who the fuck knows where Kenny Pickett's going to go. He's been on 2 boards, 2 mock drafts as high as 6. He was also picked 32nd twice in 2 different drafts. he was only on 17 draft boards. And that's interesting too. He wasn't on all 20. There was 3 different drafts, mock drafts that left him off. And same thing with Malik Willis. Malik Willis was only on 18 drafts. So it's interesting to see where Kenny Pickett goes. The Saints have a need at quarterback. So this actually fits. And if you pair him with someone like Chris Olave, that could be a very good pairing over there. So look at the law of averages, working out, filling in needs here. 20 Steelers. A lot of places, the Steelers had the Steelers going for quarterback here. 20 had Kenny Pickett had 5, and Malik Willis had 7. So it's interesting to see that 20 comes out. The Steelers end up going with George Karlaftis, defensive end from Purdue, according to the averages here. He's another interesting guy. High as 10, as low as 30, and then it's completely scattered with one draft, 2 drafts, 1 draft, picking all throughout the middle. His most frequently picked spot was only in 3 drafts at 14. So he was quite literally all around. He was included in 17 overall mock drafts. So he's an interesting guy. He's not locked to go in here in any way. None of these guys are locked, but he's very scattered. Him and Kenny Pickett both very scattered. At 21, New England Patriots, Devontae Wyatt, defensive tackle, Georgia. It's kind of the calling card of Bill Belichick, go defense. And Wyatt's another interesting cat. His highest ranking was 15, and his lowest was over at 30. He had 7 picks at 27th pick. But the averages of what kept him low over there got him over to being at 21 with the Pats. And I don't question Bill Belichick, especially when it comes to defense. He can't pick wide receivers for his life, but he's good at picking defense. So Devontae Wyatt's probably a future star. The Packers via the Raiders here in a trade. They get Zion Johnson, a guard center from Boston College, getting a guy that's going to sit in front of Aaron Rodgers. You bring him back, and right away you get him some more help up front because he has been hit a lot. He has been running for his life. This is a nice little olive branch that the law of averages here throughout to Rodgers. Another guy as high as 17, as low as 29 on mock drafts, 7 times picked at 24. So these are only 2 up from where he was picked the most frequently in the mock drafts. At 23, the Cardinals, they go with Andrew Booth Jr., cornerback Clemson, a little overshadowed by Stingley, but also talented in his own right. He was as high as 12, as low as 31, most frequently picked over at 25. So sitting there, again, 2 more above where he was most frequently picked. But the Cardinals, they are struggling with the Kyler Murray saga, but they do have weapons on the outside. They still have Hopkins. They still have offensive things that they have going for them. Kyler Murray needs to get his shit together. So the defense is a smart way for them to go if they did go this way. The Cowboys, Treylon Burks, wide receiver, Arkansas. I saw Burks in a number of drafts, and it was definitely, he's an interesting guy. He was picked 8 times to go at 22. So this would be a value pick if the Cowboys get him to drop at 24. And he was also 5 times at 23. So again, value pick. He wasn't picked at all at 24 in any of the mock drafts. But here he lies. If Cowboys get him, they can use a wide receiver because Cooper, if I'm not mistaken, is gone. And you're going to rely, you need someone there to be with CeeDee Lamb. Burks could be that guy to go with CeeDee Lamb. At 25, the Buffalo Bills, a team that everyone expects to contend, they go with Devin Lloyd, inside linebacker from Utah. A very good choice for them because their defense is good, but their offense has Josh Allen, a lot of weapons. So address defense, get that short up even more. He's a guy that was kind of picked around everywhere. Again, as high as 14, as low as 32, picked 3 times at 31, 3 times at 21. Those were the 2 highs for him. He was included in 17 drafts only, not all 21. So interesting cat. Bills go with the defense on that one. 26, Tennessee Titans. They go with Kenyon Green, guard from Texas A&M. Can't have too many bigums up there. Tannehill needs some more help, obviously, because he can't get it done in the postseason. But also, when you bring back, oh God, why am I blanking on his name? The most dominant running back in the NFL. Wow, blanking on his name. But Tennessee Titans, wow, I got to look this up because it's pissing me off. Titans running back. Who am I missing here? Why is it not telling me? What is going on? Derrick Henry. Jesus Christmas. Derrick Henry. What is wrong with me brain farting? But you get a guy up there to block for Derrick Henry. Kenyon Green picked as high as 17, as low as 28. So a little bit of a tighter spread. Picked 5 times at 24, 5 times over at 26. So here we go. Falling at 26. One of the most picked spots for him. The Buccaneers go with N'Keal Dean, inside linebacker from Georgia. N'Keal Dean's interesting because he was only included in 10 mock drafts. So he was right near the cutoff. Now, the Buccaneers, they're going to need some help if guys don't come back, but you have Tom Brady back. So get some guys on defense, get people to get the football back in his hands, and you'll be in good shape. He was really scattered. His highs were 2, and he had 1, 2, 3, 4 drafts that picked him at 2. He was as low as 32, the last pick in the first round, as high as 18, but only in 20 drafts. So it was interesting to place him. The Packers pick again. They go with Jahan Dotson, wide receiver from Penn State. So not only do they get a guard/center to protect Aaron Rodgers, now they're getting him an extra weapon in Jahan Dotson, wide receiver. I've seen Jahan Dotson play a lot from Penn State, and he is just a talented guy. He catches the football, runs good routes. Packers can't go wrong with him. He was a guy picked as low as 32, as high as 17, picked 3 times, is as high at 23, 26, and 28. Here he lies at 28, so it's a good law of averages there that get him. He was included in 16 mock drafts, which is good. When guys get this low and you're getting lower in the draft, being included in that many mock drafts is a good thing. That means he's a frequently talked about player. So at 29, the Chiefs, they picked 29 and 30. The Chiefs get this one via the 49ers, who also got that from the Dolphins. They picked Tyler Lindenbaum, center from Iowa, which is absolutely needed because Patrick Mahomes' offensive line is falling apart in front of him. So that's a great pick. He was a guy that was interesting. He was picked 9 times at the 31st position. 9 times. Only guy that got picked more was Aiden Hutchinson 11 times at number 1. There's a few other guys that went 9 times, but 9 times at 31. He was also picked as high in some later drafts as 14. He got picked 3 times at 14. So that definitely pushed his number down. We got to 29 in the Chiefs, which I think would be a great fit for him. Number 30 again, Chiefs pick again. Christian Watson, wide receiver, North Dakota State. Now they take a flyer on a guy and they need to replace Hill. Hill is gone. Tyreek Hill's not there anymore. He's over in Miami. So they get a guy, try to replace him over at 30. He was pretty low in the all mock drafts at 21 at one point. That was his high point. His low point was 30. Only included in 11 mock drafts. North Dakota State, not a college football playoff school. They're an FCS school. His 2 highs were at 3. They were at 30 and 29. So he's kind of sitting exactly where he belongs. The Bengals, the runners up, they pick Daxton Hill, defensive back from Michigan. And you would think they would try and help out Joe Burrow a little more, even though I don't know if they need it. Jamari Chase is fantastic. They have Joe Mixon, who's a great running back behind them. But you can never help your franchise out a little more. Getting a defensive back is important because you need guys that are going to shut people down. And Daxton Hill's a pretty talented kid. I don't know what you're going to get out of 31, if he's going to be a starter or not, but he's a good player. He was another one picked lower in all mock drafts, as high of 24, low of 32. He was only included in 9 mock drafts. He was one of the guys that 12 mock drafts, excuse me. He was one of the guys that kind of skated in. So that he could be a good impact guy. We will see what the Bengals turn him into. And the last pick of the round, Detroit Lions via the champion Rams. They go with Arnold Ebiketie, defensive end from Penn State. Another cat. He was as high as 24, as low as 32. He only made it into 9 mock drafts, so he just skated in. Again, a bunch of 2s across the board for him. I don't know. He'll fit in with the Lions. I don't know what the Lions are trying to do. According to this, they pick up Trayvon Walker in the number 2, a defensive end. Now they close out, picking another defensive end according to the law of averages. I don't know. I don't know if that one comes true. We'll see. Maybe the Lions are just trying to build an absolute defensive juggernaut. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the 33 guy, the 33rd player in this averages little game I'm playing. Boye Mafe, defensive end from Minnesota. He was included in 9 mock drafts as high as 19. but also as low as 30, where he had 6 selections at 30. So that seems to be where people think he actually is going to go over to the Chiefs. But averages put him at 33, so he would technically be the first pick of the second round, but who knows? But there you have it. There is the mock draft for basically including a bunch of averages, getting 20 different mock drafts, averaging them out, where exactly they placed, adding it all up, getting an average. And it was fun to do. It was interesting. Took a lot of work, but it was good. Good fun. Let me mention some of the other players that were mentioned in at least one draft. We don't got to talk about where they are, but other names to look out for. Lewis Sine, safety from Georgia. He was included in 4 mock drafts. Look out for that name. Desmond Ridder, quarterback from Cincinnati. He was interesting. He was as high as 9 in a mock draft. He was included in 7 mock drafts, so he's pretty significant. David Ajabo, defensive end, Michigan. Defense is king in this mock draft. He was included in 6 mock drafts. Trey McBride, tight end from Colorado State. Tight ends really didn't get much love in this draft at all in the first round. Only included in 2 mock drafts. Breece Hall, running back, Iowa State. Running backs also not getting any love in this first round, especially in the mock drafts. He was included in 3 mock drafts. Tyler Smith, offensive tackle, used Tulsa. He was included in 4 mock drafts. Travis Jones, defensive tackle, Connecticut, 4 mock drafts. Kyler Gordon, cornerback from Washington, was also included in 4 mock drafts. Kyer Elam, cornerback from Florida, a guy that could definitely skate into the first round. He was put into 8 of the mock drafts. He's a name to look for to potentially jump in. The next guy also, Bernard Raymond, offensive tackle, Central Michigan, 7 mock drafts. Look for him to potentially make a jump into there in the first round. Matt Corral, quarterback from Ole Miss. He was mentioned in 3 mock drafts. Quay Walker, linebacker, Georgia, mentioned in 3 mock drafts. Logan Hall, defensive end, Houston, 4 mock drafts. DeMarvin Leal, defensive tackle from Texas A&M, was put into 1. Sky Moore, wide receiver, Central Michigan, 2. Jaquan Brisker, safety from Penn State, included in 1 mock draft. George Pickens, wide receiver from Georgia, 2 mock drafts. Roger McCreary from Auburn and Jalen Petre, corner and safety, respectively. They were each in 1 mock draft. So that's all 53 names, all where everybody went. Let's see how this works out. I'm going to compare it to how the first round goes down on Thursday, and we'll see if the averages worked out better than the people, than the gurus that knew it the most. Again, trades occur that might throw a wrench in things. But overall, it was an interesting experiment. I'll probably be more prepared last time. Kind of threw this together last second because it dawned on me maybe I should do something cool for the draft. But look forward to tomorrow when I get a few people together and we talk specifically Jets draft, because I'm a Jets fan. My brother's a Jets fan, and we are friends with Jets fans. So we talk specifically Jets draft stuff, but this one's the overall. I'll probably post up my picks and stuff on social media, but this is it. Hope everyone enjoyed it. I hope your team gets who they want, unless it's the Patriots, or then I don't want you to get anything, or the Bills. Don't get anything. I don't like either of you. Miami, you're going to be Miami. I'm not scared of you. You have Tua. Go away. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. I always appreciate it. If you like what you heard, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars on Spotify and iTunes. Spread this word of mouth, and go on socials, The Alex Cuesta Show. Go find it there. Everyone, I really appreciate you all for listening to this, and I will talk to everybody tomorrow. So long.